Good morning, friends. In this video, we will see previous year questions, UGC NTA NET JRF exam December 2021 and June 2022, 13th October 2022, shift 1, English 2 solve paper. And we will cover questions from 41 to 50. So let's begin. So our 41 number question is match list first with list the second. So list 1 is willing to wound and yet afraid to strike. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife. So list 2, irony or simile. And C, thou bride still unravished of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow timer. And D, and eyes must high come floating by as green as emerald. So option C, antithesis, and 3 and option number 4, it means assonance. So the correct match will be option number B. It means A will go with third, A will go with third, B will go with first, and C will go with fourth. It means C will go with fourth. So assonance. It means thou bird, thou bride still unravished of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow timer. So C will go with fourth. So it is an example of assonance. And A will go with third. It means example of antithesis. Antithesis is willing to wound and yet afraid to strike. It will go with 3, antithesis. And B will go with first. B will go with first means it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife. It's an irony. It's an irony. And D will go with fourth. D, and eyes must high come floating by as green as emerald. D will go with the second. It means it is an example of irony, not simile. It's an example of simile. Now question next, but not next. Before going to the next question, let's see something about this. Thou still vanished. Thou still unravished, bride of quietness. This line comes under the figure of speech called assonance because there is repetition of similar vowel sounds in the stressed syllable of neighboring words. It is distinct from full rhyme that while the vowel sound correspond, the consonant do not. Willing to would and yet afraid to strike, this line is the example of antithesis. Antithesis accentuates the idea of contrasted clauses or phrases. Literally, it means the opposite. It is a device in which two contradictory viewpoints are put together in a sentence to achieve the opposite effect. The line, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession is the example of irony, a figure of speech in which there is a contradiction of expectation between what is said and what is really meant. The line, and eyes must hide, is the example of simile. Now, question number 42. Match list first, will list second. So, list 1 is Malcolm Bradbury, David Lodge, Kingsley Amis, C.P. Snow. And list 2, Masters, Lucky Jim, The History of Man, Changing Places. Choose the correct answer from the options given below. So the answer of this question will be option number B. It means A will go with third. A will go with third. It means Malcolm Bradbury will go with the history of the history man. B will go with fourth. It means David Lloyd will go with changing places. And C will go with the second. It means Kingsley Amis will go with Lucky Jim. And CP Snow, D will go with first. It means Masters. In the given option, Lucky Jim 1954 by Kingsley Amis, whose hero, lower middle class lecturer Jim Dixon. With his subversive, subversive attitudes, anti-establishment, anti-pretension, anti-arts and crafts, was hailed as an angry young man. David Lodge, Changing Place, 1975 comes under the category of campus novel. The History Man 1975 by Malcolm Bradbury is a campus novel. The Masters is the fifth novel in CPS No series, Strangers and Brothers. Now, question number 43. Anglo-Irish relations in the 20th century have been represented in which of the following novels? So, Elizabeth Bowman, The Last September, May Sinclair, The Divine Fire, J.G. Farrell, Troubles, J.G. Farrell, The Sage of Krishnapur, Jeffrey Furnall, Black Bartlemy's Treasure. Choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. So the correct answer is option number A and C. It means Elizabeth Bound, The Last September, J.G. Farrell, Troubles. The Last September 1929 is a novel by Anglo-Irish writer Elizabeth Bowen. It is based on the Anglo-Irish relation in the 20th century. J.G. Farrell's Frederick William Troubles 1970 is a novel set in Ireland in the decaying Majestic Hotel just after the First World War, against a background of Sinn Féin violence. While The Sage of Krishnapur 1973 Booker Prize deals with the events of the Indian Mutiny in a characteristically ironic and comic way, while Black Barthelme's Treasure is written by Jeffrey Furnall. Now, question number 44. Which among the following is appropriate about Ngugi wa Thiong'o's article Literature in Schools? Option A. The article discusses the relevance and adequacy of present education system. Option B. It advocates teaching of European text and literature to the students of the third world countries. And C. It reflects negatively upon the literature taught to the Kenyan students in national schools. And D. It argues that cultural imperialism distort, distorts people's vision of history. And E. It observes that European teachers are better equipped to teach literature to the Kenyan students. Choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. So the correct answer is A, C, and D. It means the article discusses the relevance and adequacy of the present education system, and C, it reflects negatively upon the literature taught to the Kenyan student in national schools, and D, it argues that cultural imperialism distorts people's vision of history. Ngugi wa Thiong'o changed his name from James Ngugi when he stopped writing in English and began publishing in Gikuyu. Both decisions were motivated by his belief that writing in the language of the colonizer alienated Africans from their own culture. Through his article Literature in Schools, he had depicted the relevance adequacy shortcomings of present education system. He had talked about the failure, cultural integrity, and educational enlightenment. Actually, he was born in Kenya, where a state of emergency was declared in 1952 because of the Mau Mau uprising. Now, question number 45. Given below are two statements. Statement 1. According to W. H. Auden, the importance of being earnest is the purest example in English literature of a verbal opera. Statement 2. Oscar Wilde possessed profound insight into the range of arts that in a combined form make theatre performance possible. In the light of the above statement, choose the correct answer from the options given below. So, the correct answer is both statement 1 and statement 2 are true. The Importance of Being Earnest, a trivial comedy for serious people, is a play by Oscar Wilde, and according to W. H. Auden, it is the purest example in English literature of a verbal opera. Now question number 46. Getura, Gaitra, Gaitra Bahadur wrote an autobiographic novel titled Era of Darkness, Dauka Puran, Kuli Women, Rama, Banishment. So the answer of this question will be Kuli Women. Gayatri Bahadur wrote an autobiographic novel titled Coolie Women, The Odyssey of Lit Indenture. The story is about Shudaria, the great grandmother of the author, while an era of darkness, the British Empire in India. An era of darkness came along. There was no single work that clearly and unambiguously catalogued all the harm done to India under British rule. The publication of Subramanian Dauka Puran is an important event in the literary and cultural history of the Indo-Fijian community in particular and of Fiji in general. Now question number 47. Stuart Hall belongs to Dot Schools of Cultural Studies, Oxford, Birmingham, Cambridge, American. So the answer is Birmingham. Stuart Hall belongs to Birmingham Schools of Cultural Studies. The Centre for Contemporary Cultural Studies was a research center at the University of Birmingham, England. It was founded in 1964 by Stuart Hall and Richard Howard. Now question number 48. Kimball Crenshaw's term intersectionality is widely used for academic deterioration, racial justice, peace formation. So, racial justice will be the correct answer. Along with that, complex construction of power is also correct. Identity politics is also correct. Kimball Crenshaw term intersectionality is widely used for racial justice, complex construction of power, and identity politics. Intersectionality is a qualitative analytic framework flourished in the late 20th century that identifies how interlocking systems of power affect those who are most marginalized in society. Now question number 49. Which of these graphic narrative depict political crisis? Amruta Patil, Kari. Joe Sacco, Footnotes in Gaza. Art Spiegelman, Mouse. Sarnath Banerjee, Corridor. Herb Gleckner, The Diary of a Teenage Girl. Choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. So the most appropriate answer of this question is only B and C. It means Joe Sacco, Footnotes in Gaza, and Art Spiegelman is Mouse. Footnote in Gaza is a graphical narrative based on bloody incidents between Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza during the Suez Crisis. According to United Nations figures quoted in the book, Israeli forces killed 275 Palestinians in Khan Yunis in November 1956. Mouse is also a graphic narrative by an American cartoonist Art Spiegelman about the experience as a Polish Jew and Holocaust survivor. Here, Jews are depicted as mice, Wehrmacht soldiers as cats, Poles as pigs, Americans as dogs, British as fish, French as frogs, Swedish as reindeers, and the Romani as gypsy moths. Now question number 50 and the last. Match the following works of Edward Braithwaite according to their year of publication. So we have some work and the publication date. Rites of Passage, Islands, Masks, The Events 1973, 1969, 1967, 1968. Choose the correct answer from the options given below. Rite of Passage 1965 is a notable work of Kamau Braithwaite, while Rites of Passage is novel based on science fiction written by Alexei Panson and published in 1960. Another work, Rite of Passage, is written by William Golding in 1980. It is an account of a voyage by sea to Australia Islands. 1969 is written by Kamau Braithwaite, a, a Barbadian poet, while Mask was published in 1968. The event, a New World trilogy by Kamau Braithwaite, comprising three earlier volumes, Rite of Passage, Mask and Islands. Note: NTA had dropped these questions. And thank you.